Welcome to your MBA in Leadership and Management with Aspire Business School. In this module, we'll be talking about leadership and management. So first of all, what is leadership? Leadership is a process by which one person will lead a group of people or a team of people to achieve a common goal. In organizations, it's effectively a leader who's able to inspire confidence in people and to influence them to act in a coordinated fashion in a common direction to achieve a common goal. It's effectively creating a way for people to achieve a goal and to make something happen. So that is the definition of leadership. So when a leader leads, they typically lead a team. So when it comes to building a team, what does that mean? So team building is effectively the act of improving and maximizing a group of people who will collaborate and work together to achieve a common goal. So when it comes to a team, the word team implies that there is a synergy between the individual members and the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, which means each individual will work together in a common fashion with excellent communication to achieve the goal of the objective or the project that the team has been assigned to achieve. So when it comes to building a team, the team will absolutely have a clear goal. So each individual member of the team will be clear on exactly what goal the team has to achieve together. This automatically means then that the team is in itself results driven in its structure. So the individuals and their skill sets are all chosen and structured in a way that will help achieve the goal that the team has been assigned. The team will be made up of competent team members and it has the right mix. So the team is not too large and not too small, because if the team is too large, then you might have too many skills on the team that are not used, or there may not be enough for the individual members of the team to do to complete the goal. But if the team is too small, then you may not have enough skills to achieve the goal, but also you may have team members that have too much to do and are very stressed out, and whatever they have to deliver is either delivered very late or not at all. When you build a team, you also need to have a unified commitment. What this means is that each individual is united in committing to the goal of the team as a whole. So everybody their intention is to achieve the goal the team has been set to achieve. This results in very high standards of excellence. So each team member will likely hold each other accountable, maybe not directly, possibly indirectly, in order to do their best and do their best job. The concept of support is important in a team, both within the team itself and receiving external support. And sometimes this means you may have a team that has the majority of the skills that you need to achieve the goal, but you may also need additional skills that you don't need to hire somebody on the team for. We could actually hire in external experts to complete that particular task that the skills are needed for. And of course, a strong team needs a strong leader that's able to give direction, to recruit the kind of people that's needed on the team, and then lead the team to achieve its aim. Let's now look at a model of team leadership. So across the top, you have leadership intervention decisions, and this is decisions made by the leader of the team in order to decide when to intervene on particular decisions. So this depends on the type of intervention that needs to happen. So as the team is progressing in its day-to-day tasks, do I, as a leader, monitor them to see how they're doing, or actually take some action to either stop them from what they're doing or allow them to change direction? And this could be, for example, during the change management process. If you're changing something within a system and you have to do some development, you as a leader may decide, I'm going to let the team do the development work and do the testing and then see what the outcomes are. Or if you've had experience in that particular type of development before, then you could actually take action and direct the team in order to complete that particular task. So you have the type of intervention. You also have the level of intervention, which is, do we intervene using the members of the team, or do we have an external party come in and takes a course of action? So this could be, for example, you might have a regulation that you have to adhere to as part of your project, and an external expert in that regulation could be the person that comes in in order to influence the team. And then finally, we have the function of the intervention. So what is the intervention meant to be doing? Is it meant to influence the team to take a certain decision? Is it meant to redirect them in another way? Is it meant to bring them back on course for the project plan? So as a leader, you must decide. Then the second layer of the team leadership model is the functions, whether you have internal functions or external functions. The internal functions are made up of what happens within the team itself. So how far are the goals that need to be achieved clarified? What is the structure of the particular team? So who reports into who, and what roles are there, and which levels they sit at? What is the decision-making process, and who makes those decisions? What about training? How much training do the team members need, and where does this training come from? What's the format? Is it in person? Is it digital? And who delivers it? Then you have a set of standards that each team member will work by. So this could be, we have a standard that we meet every week as a team in a team meeting, and we review the progress of our project. The other functions that you have that are internal to the team are relational. So how far are the relationships being developed amongst the team members, and how strong are they, and are they actually being nurtured? So for example, does the team need coaching, either the individuals in the team or the team as a whole in terms of group coaching? How well are they collaborating? So is there open communication? Is there an environment of trust? How do you manage conflicts in a team? So who is involved? How far are the individuals in the team encouraged to have open communication when it comes to conflict? And how far do they trust each other to have conflict that they know will be resolved for the greater good of the team? And then, of course, you have building commitment in the team. So how do you, as a leader, go about getting that commitment from each team member and making sure that the commitment is the same throughout the course of the project? Then you have the satisfying the needs of the individual team members. So when they have different needs, you as a leader have to identify what they are and then give them what they want in order for them to be motivated enough to perform. So for example, you may have a team member that is quite junior in terms of their skills, and what they want to do is they want to develop certain skills within the course of the project. You as a leader would then identify with the help of the team member, identify what those skills are and who is best to help them develop those particular skills. You also have a set of modeling principles that you would put into place in terms of a team function. So how do we conduct our work? How do we communicate? What sort of standards do we hold ourselves up to? Then within the team, you also have the external environment, and this in itself has a function too. So do the team need to network with other people in the business? What is that network? Who's advocating for the team? So who is championing what the team has to achieve? Who's on their side supporting them? And then for those who are not currently supporting them, whether willingly or not, who is negotiating that support? So who's going out and gathering more advocates for the team and its project? And also, how is the team performance being assessed? What information is being shared to external parties from the team? And the final layer of the team leadership model is the effectiveness of the team. So how is the team performing? How is their performance being monitored and measured? And how is it being improved if it needs to be improved? And if there are some development needs, how are they being addressed? Or if there are very little development needs, how is the momentum of the team and the behavior of the team actually being maintained? Here we have the Tuckman model of the different stages in team building, and Tuckman shows us that teams go through 4 stages when it comes to building them, and they actually move from one stage to another. They never go back in a stage. So the first is forming. This is when the team starts to form. They meet together, they get to know each other, they start developing trust, they start communicating with each other, and they start establishing team norms and behavioral norms. This is typically where each individual doesn't quite know each other, so they're sizing each other up and trying to figure out if they can actually work together. So once you've gone through forming, you then go through storming, and this is when reality really hits and the individuals in the team start realizing how difficult their task is. Maybe they start collaborating and they're not collaborating very well. There are fluctuations in their performance, and this is the stage where the teams start really getting to know each other whilst they're working together. Then you move into norming, and this is where the individual members of the team really start accepting each other, accepting their strengths and their development needs, and they start supporting each other in order to achieve the goal the team has to achieve. So this is when they have gotten to know each other a bit more, they've accepted what each other can bring to the team environment, and they're using that to their benefit. And then you have performing. So once you have gotten to know each other, the team starts to perform well to get the job done. So this is when the synergy in the team is really high. They're able to work effectively together and achieve their results pretty much seamlessly. So there are the 4 stages in the team building process. And as you can see here, one stage follows the other. So you wouldn't go from forming to storming and then back to forming, because there's only one time where there's only one occasion on which you meet a person for the first time. There's one occasion when you'll be overtly polite and, you know, a little bit cautious because you're meeting the person for the first time. So if you use an example to bring this to life, let's say you are a student and you're starting at a university. The forming stage would be the first day or the first week, where you don't know the lay of the land, you don't know how the university campus is structured, you don't know who your fellow students are, you're getting to know your professors, you're getting to know your syllabus, and everything is very new. So you're probably a very polite version of yourself whilst you get to know who's around you and what you are to do. The storming phase, when you are a student, is when you realize within a couple of weeks that actually you have a lot of lessons that you have to find your way around campus for. There's, you know, some students you like, some students you don't like. There are some professors you like the classes of and some don't. You're still trying to size people up, but you're kind of understanding, actually, I have a lot of work to do in order for me to settle in this team environment of students and professors. Then you move into norming, and this is when you really start understanding exactly who is your friend and who is not. You start realizing who your favorite professors are, you start realizing which your favorite classes are and where you actually need to do more work, but you also know who to go to for help. And then finally, the performing stage is when you are aware of everything on campus, you know exactly where you need to be, you know your timetable, you actually know who your favorite professors are and why, and you've built very strong relationships that will help you achieve some success in your experience as a student. In terms of what makes a team successful, we have here this score model of exactly what factors go into making a successful team. So let's go through each of the elements of this model now. The first is strategy. So this is really around what is the bigger picture this team is trying to achieve. How are they going to get there? Who will be involved? What pitfalls do we have? What risks do we have to mitigate? And really, this is the job of the leader to set the strategy and then to get the buy-in from the team in order for them to agree to the strategy and commit to the strategy. So that's S. The C in the SCORE model stands for clear roles and responsibilities. So whenever a team is working well together, it's because each individual knows exactly what they add in order to make the team function to achieve its goals. And this starts with having very clear roles and responsibilities. Who does what, who's part of which function, what skills do they bring to the table, where is an overlap potentially, and where can we mitigate overlaps in different roles. Then you move into open communication. So does the team work in an environment of openness and trust? If not, the leader will need to build that. So how well do we deal with conflict? How well do we communicate with each other when things are very busy, but we still need to make sure everybody knows what's happening in the project? How do we communicate at a time when things are difficult? So if things are going wrong, people are panicking, how do we keep people calm? And how do we make sure relevant members of the team have the relevant information they need in order to do their jobs? The R stands for rapid response. So this is when a team is reaching a difficult stage, maybe they're going through a very complicated change management process. How do we actually respond to the changing environment as a team and as individuals, and how do we do that quickly and effectively? And then the final part of this model is effective leadership. So how well does the leader or leaders perform when it comes to leading the team? So are they effective and efficient? Are they getting the job done? Are they making it clear what the strategy is what each of the roles of the people are, that they're communicating well, that they're setting them up for success. So that is the SCORE model for the key factors in a successful performance of a team. Now, if we were to take leadership as an acronym, it will accurately describe what an effective and efficient leader is. So let's go through what that acronym actually describes. The first thing is listen twice as much as you speak. So a good leader will be able to ask open questions and close questions at the right time in order to get the information they need from their team to deliver on their role. So this involves more listening than speaking. We've all probably been around leaders that do a lot of dictating and speak a lot, but the most effective leaders are the ones that listen more than they speak. Then we move on to a leader encouraging people to take risks. Now, this doesn't mean the risks are huge and the consequences are unknown, or the consequences could be potentially disastrous. This is really looking at calculated risks. And a leader, when they encourage people to take risks, they create an environment where it feels safe enough to take a risk and know that we can deal with the consequences. And this really comes from inspiring people and motivating them. A leader must also access the facts before making a decision. So rather than being led by ego or assumption, a leader, when they have a problem presented to them where a decision needs to be made by them, they will ask for all the information that they need in order to make the decision in the most informed manner they can. Then they demand accountability of themselves and of others. So they're able to hold themselves accountable, they're able to take responsibility for what they're doing, and they will encourage their team members to also take responsibility for what they do as part of the project as well. And what comes with this territory is expecting people to do their best. So when a leader has compiled a team, they've compiled a team of individuals they believe can do the job. And that belief is translated into an expectation that they will do their best, which means that they actually set the bar for standard behavior quite high for each member of the team. A leader must also respect those that are both under them in the hierarchy and above them in the hierarchy. And what this means is they're not just going to pander to the needs of those above them or in the hierarchy. They will respect those above them who are not usually key stakeholders, to give them timely updates, to keep them informed of what they need to be informed of depending on what the context is. And those below them are typically either team members or those people that are below them in the hierarchy of the organization. And great leaders will also respect those below them because, of course, respect is the basis of working with humans. And so a leader doesn't just respect the people that are their peers or people above them, they will respect everybody that they're involved with. One other trait of a strong leader is being able to solve problems with action. So good leaders will be the ones that will find a solution and take as much action as they can to solve the problem, as well as getting their team involved when necessary. A good leader also includes others in the process. So they're able to, they know that they can't achieve the objectives of the team on their own. And so rather than doing everything themselves because they can do it better and faster, they actually get their team and delegate to their team in order to get the job done more effectively. And sometimes it can be a little bit slower if the team has to learn some stuff, but a good leader recognizes that's part of the process. And also the final character of a good leader is being able to praise your team publicly and correct them privately. So what this means is when your team member has done something well or the entire team has achieved something great, do everything you can as a leader in order to praise them in a public way. So whether that's a group email, whether that's in a wider meeting, talk about how great they are because it makes them feel like they're doing a good job and it's an essential part of motivation. But then when it comes to correcting them, so if they've done something wrong or they haven't completed a task the way they should have, or they need to receive some constructive feedback, then that really needs to happen privately because nobody enjoys being told off in a public environment. So a good leader will praise their team publicly, but correct them privately. Let's now look at some key principles of leadership. So one principle is for a leader to know themselves and to seek improvement continually. So what this means is A leader knows that they also have strengths and development needs, and they will seek to improve their skills and their behaviors over time, and they know that job is never done. A leader will need to be technically proficient. So how far are they able to complete their role as a leader? And where do they need to learn more? And when they need to learn more, they recognize this and go out and learn the skills they need and the technical skills they need to become a great leader. They also take responsibility for their own actions, and they seek responsibility for their actions as well. And they also know that the ultimate responsibility of the actions and deliverables of a team finally lie with the leader themselves, and they're able to take on that particular role of being the ultimate person that's accountable. Another principle of leadership is to be able to make decisions in a timely manner that makes sense. So when a leader will make a decision, they're able to make it quickly and effectively, but also justify why they made that particular decision. So they're able to gather the evidence they need, and if they were able to explain to someone why each decision was made, they can do that with conviction. Another principle of leadership is setting an example for behavior or character. So we've all probably heard the term leadership comes from the top, and it does, but also behavior in an organization or the kind of behavior to model comes from the top. So for example, if you're a leader that says to your team, don't work on weekends, then you need to set the example for them by not working on the weekends. People will follow your lead because you're a leader. Another principle of good leadership is knowing the people around you and looking out for their well-being. So being aware of stress levels in the team, being aware of conflict in the team, and making sure that you are doing everything you can to make sure that your team are feeling their best and performing their best. Another principle of good leadership is keeping your workers informed. So are you openly communicating the progress of the project, how everyone's doing, what external factors are influencing the team moving forward in the project? So a good leader will always keep their team informed with relevant information. We talked earlier about a leader being responsible for their own actions. They also help their workers or their team members become responsible for their actions. So this could be through modeling behavior, so creating a model of responsibility and accountability that the workers will actually follow, or using a technique that we can look at in the next module on coaching and mentoring in order to create responsible workers. A leader will also ensure that tasks are understood, supervised, and accomplished, and they will also use the full capabilities of the organization in order to achieve the goal for the team. Let's have a look now at some key attributes of a leader. So this falls under the be, know, and do model. So be loyal to your organization, be responsible, and be a professional who has good character traits, because this is a model you're creating for your team to follow. Then follows, you need to know yourself, you need to understand human nature, you need to know what your job is, and you also need to know what your organization is about, because this allows you to deliver the job you agree to deliver in a way that is true to you. And the final piece of the puzzle is do. So provide direction, implement changes, motivate your team, inspire your team, encourage your team, give them what they need for them to do their jobs well. The process of leadership is really common to, or the process of successful leadership is common to all very good leaders. They're able to challenge the process that they're following, to be innovative. They're able to share a vision that inspires others, which then enables others to act in a positive way to achieve the results that need to be achieved. They are role models for how to behave in a standard set, and they will be emotionally intelligent to encourage people to work led by their emotions more than their logic. Let's now have a look at what the difference is between managers and leaders. So a manager is somebody who promotes stability, but a leader will press for change and the organizations that are the most successful are the ones that have both managers and leaders in their teams. A leader also provides vision and strategy. Managers will implement that vision and strategy, and they'll coordinate staff to handle day-to-day problems. Let's now take a look at what makes leaders different from non-leaders. So we can have three different theories. The first theory is trait theory, and it means social, physical, or intellectual aspects of people differentiate them from being leaders or non-leaders. Behavioral theory says actually there are certain behaviors leaders have that either make them leaders or non-leaders. And then contingency or situational theory actually suggests that effective leadership depends on the situation. So all of us could be leaders, but we could be leaders in very different circumstances. Let's now have a look at some traits of successful leaders. So successful leaders are honest. So when they say they'll do something, they do it. They are very good at building interpersonal relationships, both within the team and outside the team. They actually adapt to others well, so they're very emotionally intelligent. They're competent in what they do, so they're quick to make decisions and justify what those decisions are. And they're able to manage themselves well, so they understand themselves as well as understanding others. And in fact, in a survey that was recently done with a bunch of CEOs, it actually found that the three most important things that are characteristics or traits to lead to good leadership are communication skills, the ability to motivate people, and honesty. And as we've seen earlier, these three things are incredibly key for a leader to be successful. You can see at the very bottom of the pile is being aggressive in business, because aggression doesn't necessarily get results, but good communication and motivation of other people does. So in a sense, an effective team leader is somebody who actually creates an atmosphere of trust, that are able to show tolerance and flexibility. They treat people with respect, both in their team and outside of their team. They're very fair and they're very consistent. And they actually keep open communication with their teams. They give them positive feedback and constructive feedback. They give praise and recognition where it's needed, and they help their individual team members develop where it's needed as well. An effective leader is also very result orientated, so they're able to communicate goals clearly. They're able to emphasize that the goal is the focus. They take responsibility for making decisions. They keep the team focused and they manage conflict well. They also represent the team well to the rest of the organization, so they speak very knowledgeably about what's happening with the team and the progress they're making. They will show loyalty to their team, and they'll advocate for their team where it's needed in the wider organization. Leadership is incredibly important to team building, as we saw earlier, but here's the different ways how important it is or how it can be done. So effective leadership actually increases the firm's ability to meet new challenges. What this means is that when things are difficult or when new projects or innovations are being implemented, strong leadership will allow those things to go as smoothly as possible. And effective leadership really helps an organization or even a nation go through times of difficulty, and it makes businesses and organizations successful because the people are being led by strong leaders. Good leadership allows profit and non-for-profit or profitable and not-for-profit organizations fulfill their mission, and without leadership, organizations will just become stagnant and start to fail. In terms of ethics, ethics are incredibly important in team building because actually leadership can be used for something positive or something negative. So just because you're a good leader doesn't mean you're necessarily leading your team to a good or an ethically positive result. So ethics is effectively the inner compass that directs people or directs you towards what's right and fair. And that means that if your inner compass directs you to somewhere that's right and fair, that's how you will lead, and that's where you will lead your team to. But the danger is that if somebody and their inner compass directs them to something that's not right and not fair, then they could manipulate their skills as a leader to achieve negative things. So great leaders are not only great leaders that achieve great things and good things, they can also achieve great negative things, and Adolf Hitler is one example of a brilliant leader that did some terrible things. There are some myths around leadership that we can bust now. The first is that leadership is innate, but actually leadership can be developed in any person. Leadership is not about possessing power over other people, but it's about influencing them and persuading them and motivating them. Leadership isn't always positive, as we've seen before. Sometimes it can lead people to do things that are negative or bad. Leaders don't entirely control the outcome of a team. They can encourage a team to do certain things. They can motivate the team and help the team coordinate, but they're not fully in control of what the outcome will be because they physically can't be. And all groups don't necessarily have a designated leader, and not all members of the team will resist leadership. If we take Steve Jobs as an example, his method of leadership was to make his entire executive team good enough to be successors. That means when he's not around, the team will still function well. And actually, Steve Jobs has a very interesting story, because one of the reasons why it was most successful when he co-founded it back in 1976 is that he actually had very strong leadership characteristics and abilities. So he was able to demand a lot from his staff. He demanded a lot of excellence, and he was also very open with his criticism. And this actually led the teams to do much better and to perform better. But then what happened when he left Apple is that sales started to decline, profits started to decline, but they declined because the company began focusing on profits over products. But then when Steve Jobs returned to Apple, he actually then was responsible for bringing Apple out of that period of low sales and low profits and becoming one of the most successful businesses ever to have existed. So in conclusion, for a team to be effective, the leader has to be efficient, and this goes hand in hand, because the running of an organization is really judged by the skills of the leader. So for an organization to be successful, the foundations of that are leadership and excellent team building. And that brings us to the end of the module.